Today marks 1 year since President Trump took office for his second term. It also marks 1 year since his sweeping January 6 pardons, which forgave the convictions and crimes of nearly 1,500 rioters who stormed the Capitol in 2021, believing the false claims that somehow the 2020 election had been stolen. Since then, the J6ers have taken different paths, some emboldened by the pardons, others embarrassed, as some Capitol police officers worry that history is being rewritten and the country is less safe because of it. Our Jay O'Brien has their stories in tonight's Prime Focus.
USA! USA!
This is an unapologetic return to the scene of the crime for many in this crowd. A crime that resulted in the largest FBI investigation in American history. A bloody attempt to stop the certification of the presidential election results on January 6, 2021. More than 140 police officers injured, an act of political violence that shocked the nation. Many here were at the Capitol that day, some convicted of violent crimes, returning to mark the attack's 5th anniversary, standing just steps away from where it all happened, now feeling vindicated, holding up framed pardons from President Trump and lifting a sign thanking him.
So this is January 6th. These are the hostages.
Trump's sweeping pardons exactly 1 year ago, just hours into his second term, sent shockwaves still reverberating to this day, forgiving the crimes of more than 1,500 January 6th defendants. Even alleged violent rioters were freed, like Jake Lang, accused of assaulting police officers and arrested just days after the Capitol attack.
We left our hearts on this battlefield here for our country.
Now a free man after 4 years in jail following Trump's pardon.
I'd be an old man, old and gray, by the time I got out.
You were accused of doing some violent stuff.
Well, I was accused of defending my country versus the violence.
Beating Capitol police officers
well,
with a pole.
These people were redcoats, traitors to the Constitution. They turned their weapons against
uniformed police officers?
Listen, it doesn't matter if you're uniformed.
It wasn't exactly a pole Lang was accused of wielding, according to court records. It was a baseball bat, and prosecutors said he could be seen using it to hit police officers over and over again for nearly 5 minutes. On the 5-year anniversary of January 6th, Lang was back, standing again in front of the Capitol Police and shouting his threats into a bullhorn.
The J6ers are free. Watch your back.
You pointed to this building when you were speaking earlier.
Yeah.
And you called it a battlefield.
This was a battlefield. And
do you really believe that?
This was the first
battle of the United States?
The first battle of the Second American Revolution was January 6, 2021.
But can you understand can you understand how a comment like that can cause violence? Can incite violence?
Would you have told that to George Washington?
Not long after we spoke with him, Jake Lang traveled to Minneapolis, where he led an anti-immigration march and was chased through the streets by counter-protesters.
I'm worried about the message that the pardon has sent to these specific rioters, that some of these folks were specifically violent, assaulted police officers.
You think they feel like they have a get-out-of-jail-free card?
Well, because they literally got out of jail free.
Brendan Ballou was one of dozens of federal prosecutors who helped convict January 6 defendants. He resigned from the Department of Justice just 2 days after Trump returned to office and issued those pardons.
I think it says that if you are sufficiently loyal to this president, that you can enact violence in his name without consequence.
Ballou brought his concerns to a House Democratic hearing, also on the attack's 5th anniversary. Seated right next to him was Winston Pajon, a former Capitol police officer who we first met 2 years ago.
They moved with me from D.C.
Painting his memories of January 6th to help cope with PTSD.
We were so outnumbered. There just were not enough of us.
We found Winston again when he returned to the Capitol.
Here we are 5 years later, still waiting for justice and waiting for accountability.
How do you feel about the pardons?
The pardons, what little shred of justice and accountability there was is long gone. The pardons completely erased that. The idea that violent criminals would be released to our streets, to our communities, and our neighborhoods is completely unacceptable.
At least 33 pardoned January 6 defendants have since been arrested again for different alleged crimes. Some serious offenses like assault and aggravated kidnapping. Even one arrested for allegedly threatening to kill House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. So far, more than a dozen ran for public office and lost. At least 3 more, including Jake Lang, are running this year. Trump also granted clemency to leaders of the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, convicted or charged with seditious conspiracy. Prosecutors saying they tried to use the Capitol attack to stop the peaceful transfer of power. Some even visiting the Capitol after their release. And then there's Pam Hemphill.
Political hostage, that's an insult. No, you broke the law.
Hemphill went from a far-right celebrity, the so-called MAGA granny, to a fierce Trump critic. For years, she vowed to return to the Capitol and make amends with the police officers who kept her from being trampled on January 6th. And on the 5-year anniversary, Pam was back with this message.
I am truly sorry from the bottom of my heart.
Hemphill and at least one other January 6 defendant were the only rioters to publicly reject their pardons from President Trump.
They were unbelievable patriots.
In the 5 years since the attack, President Trump has ramped up a campaign to rewrite the history of January 6th. Also, on the anniversary, the Trump White House released an official webpage repeating the lie the 2020 election was stolen and blaming Capitol Police, not rioters, for the violence, saying falsely that it was law enforcement who turned a peaceful demonstration into chaos.
If the president can get people to either forget or accept the attack on the Capitol on January 6th, then they will accept any attack on democracy.
This was the largest FBI investigation in American history, right? Thousands of prosecutions. Does it erase all of that work to pardon these rioters?
No. I actually think it's impossible for somebody to actually see the record from January 6th and understand anything other than the truth.
Our thanks to Jay O'Brien for that.